royalties, which I'll come back to it, and collateralization and mineral royalties to borrow about $200 million US, and the securitization of GET fund revenues to borrow about 1.5 billion US dollars. We also will be talking about the Sino Hydro's 2 billion Ghana cedis that, as we know, we don't know what has happened, 2 billion US dollars, that as we speak, we don't know what has happened to the Sino Hydro. Technically, this financing of...
Apologies for that. We were just hearing KCL Atuforsen, who is a minority spokesperson on finance. Just a bit we were able to listen to. He said that they were going to react to the Sino Hydro deal, and because there were no updates, or there are no updates so far on what the deal is about. We'll be bringing you that once they're able to establish a stable and clean feed. Well, let's take you back now to Parliament. The minority is addressing the nation there. They're raising some concerns about deals. They mentioned the Sino Hydro deal. KCL Atuforsen is a finance spokesperson for the minority.
National reserves well, because if care is not taken, and this trajectory continues, a time will come that this country and our investors will actually be panicking, and if care is not taken, the currency will start depreciating. Now I'll take you to the killer taxes that has been introduced. In the run-up to the presentation of the media budget yesterday, several stakeholders within the Ghanaian economy, including business associations, called on President Akufo-Addo to review several taxes and avoid the imposition of new ones. These calls appear to have fallen on deaf ears because, contrary to expectations, President Akufo-Addo, through the Minister of Finance, slabbed increases on 3 taxes that form part of the Energy Sector Levies Act and the Communication Service Tax. Under the Energy Sector Levies Act increment, an average increase of 25% was imposed on the Power Generation Infrastructure Support Levy, Road Fund Levy, and the Price Stabilization Recovery Levy. This means that once they come into effect, consumers will be paying almost 1 Ghana cedis on petrol, on petrol and diesel, and 1.1 cedi 70 pesos on 14 kilograms cylinder filled with gas. If these increases create frustration, Ghanaians wish to vent through phone calls or on social media, the media budget has made that expensive, as well as following the imposition of 50% increase in the communication service tax from 6% to 9%. These measures will send shockwaves through many households and businesses, as this will only further compound the excruciating hardships Ghanaians are already going through. These taxes will add to a raft of taxes imposed by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, despite his promise not to do so in opposition. This includes 1, the 5% backdoor increases in VAT, crowned as NHIL and Ghana Education Trust Fund levies, GET fund levies, the luxury vehicle tax of between 1,000 and 2,000 Ghana cedis, the 3% VAT flat rate scheme, which has cascading effect on making businesses pay as much as 20% VAT. The extension of the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy, which would have actually been scrapped in the year 2017 in compliance with our sunset clause in the enabling legislation. The retention of the special import levies beyond the sunset clause and failure of MPP to reduce the corporate tax from 25% to 20% as promised. And finally, the already fuel prices have gone up by 23, on 23 different occasions. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, given the fiscal challenges and confrontations, the country and high level of public debt, it would not come as a surprise if Ghana seeks a bailout from the IMF less than 2 years after exiting a similar program that the current administration proudly touted as an achievement. The media budget clearly showed that the public finances are in dire straits, and the results to additional tax measures is an indication of the troubling times that we are in as we speak. The populist policies adopted by President Akufo-Addo have come full cycle and are throwing all the gains made from the fiscal consolidation period to the coming into the office of the NPP government, into the coming of NPP government out of gear. It has become obvious that the NPP has no intention of keeping their promises to Ghanaians when it comes to borrowing and the public debt. The imposition of taxes, fuel prices, adjustment, and the resolution of the general hardship facing Ghanaians. Ladies and gentlemen, the media budget presented by the minister responsible for finance only offers gloom and portends very difficult times for the people of Ghana. There's therefore the need for President Akufo-Addo and his government to change the course, or they will plunge this economy into a bigger challenge. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, we'll just get Honorable Jinapo to just do the bit on energy.
Sincere apologies for that. We just had the minorities spokesperson on finance giving their own version of the mid-year budget assessment. And notable among the things he said was that if government does not take care, they are likely to seek a bailout from the IMF less than 2 years after we exited a similar program. And he talks about high debt levels, and also he spoke about the increase in fuel at the pumps if government's proposed levy in the energy sector goes through, and gave some figures to that. 1 CD for fuel, for petrol and diesel, I beg your pardon, and 1.70 pesos for 14 kilograms of cylinder of gas. And in conclusion, he mentioned that there was a need for the president to change the course the nation is on, or we will be plunged into a deeper economic problem. And we were just about hearing Mr. Jinapo, who is former power minister for the previous government. Let's take you back there.
All the taxes are four. We have the price stabilization and recovery levy, the energy debt recovery levy, which is broken down into two, and the road fund levy. Ladies and gentlemen, the road fund levy has nothing to do with the power sector, even though it finds expression in the Energy Sector Levies Act. Any monies accruing to the road fund levy is supposed to go to the road fund. Now, if you take the price stabilization and recovery levy, which is also part of the Energy Sector Levies Act, that money is supposed to be used to subsidize premixed fuel. In fact, the only component out of the five that has some relation with the power sector is the energy debt recovery levy. Even that one is broken down into two. The energy debt recovery account, that component of it, is supposed to pay for toll debts. So it has nothing to do with PPAs. It's only the power generation and infrastructure sub-account. That money is used to pay for core legacy debt. And so for the minister to increase 5 taxes and claim that it is because of PPAs that he's increasing those taxes is false, inaccurate, and grossly misleading all of us. Now, even if you look at the levies proper, in the 2018 account of the Energy Sector Levies account, the road fund levy got an amount of 1.3 billion cedis. Out of that amount, only 680 million was released to the road fund. The minister used about 50% of that money for non-road related activities. And so where is the justification for that increment? If you take the price stabilization and recovery levy, in the 2017 account, the minister borrowed 150 million cedis from that money. The money was in excess. Even in the 2018 account, the price stabilization levy was in excess. So why do you want to increase that levy? It just doesn't make sense. This is just an attempt to mislead us and to misrepresent the facts. Even more disturbing is the so-called PPAs.
We do apologize for that. We're still working to get a more stable line from Parliament, but you just heard there Mr. Jinapo, who is former Power Minister, explaining what to him it went, or what to him is the reason why government is not justified in deciding to increase the energy sector levy. He was breaking down all the component of that particular levy. So We will bring you what the finance minister said in regards to energy when he spoke yesterday during his mid-year budget review.
Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the significant progress we have made so far, the serious challenges we are facing in the energy sector pose grave financial risk to the whole economy. At the heart of these challenges are the obnoxious take-or-pay contracts signed by the NDC, which obligate us to pay for capacity we do not need. Currently, according to the Energy Commission, our installed capacity of over 5,000 megawatts is almost double our peak demand of around 2,700 megawatts. Notably, 2,300 megawatts of the installed capacity has been contracted on a take-or-pay basis. This means that we are contractually, Mr. Speaker, obliged to throw away money for this excess capacity which we do not consume. This has resulted in us paying over $500 million of over 2.5 billion annually for power generation capacity that we do not need. Similarly, for gas, Ghana has contracted for around 750 million scf per day by 2023. This is even after this government terminated 2 other LNG contracts in 2017. Current demand is around 250 million scf per day, and this is projected to rise to between 450 and 550 million scf per day by 2023. About 640 million scf of the contracted gas supply is on a take-or-pay basis, Mr. Speaker, meaning we have to pay whether we use it or not. From 2020, if nothing is done, we'll be facing annual excess capacity charges of between $550 million and $850 million every year. Thankfully, Mr. Speaker, we have a plan to deal with this. Mr. Speaker, we cannot allow this situation to continue. There is no doubt that the situation in the energy sector is shocking the economy. We are in a state of emergency and must therefore respond with urgency and boldness. We shall, from August 1st, 2019, Mr. Speaker, with the support of Parliament, make take-or-pay contracts a beast of the past.
So you heard the finance minister. Will take you back to Parliament, where the minority is reacting to his presentation.
So that if they had followed up on our programs, whatever capacity that's in the system, we should have been consuming that capacity today. It is because of their bad management policies, it is because of their failure to ensure that we grow the industries and the sector. That is why we are dealing with the so-called excess. But quickly, let me deal with the take-or-pay and the take-and-pay issue. Let me give you a clear example. Buidam was constructed at a cost of $620 million. The installed capacity of Buidam is 400 megawatts. Today, as I speak to you, Buidam at best generates only 130 megawatts. Whether Buidam generates power or not, Ghana would continue to pay the 620 million. This was brought in by President Kufuor. The toy generators, the 126 megawatt cat diesel generators President Kufuor brought in, they could not generate power. We inherited that, and we ensured that that payment is done. And so let me make it clear to you that capacity charges or take-or-pay issues is not a new phenomenon. It is the PURC's job and duty to approve these tariffs, and in doing so, that is factored in. Capacity charges or take-or-pay are insurance to ensure that when our hydro dams go down, we continue to have power readily available. We are in this mess because somewhere in 2018, President Akufo-Addo and the NPP decided to usurp the powers of the PURC by proceeding to announce a populist but unwise decision of a 17% reduction in tariffs. Following that 17% reduction, it has led to a huge, colossal debt. Today, what they are telling you, the ordinary Ghanaian, is that you enjoy this 17% for about 1 year. It has created a debt. So they are going to impose that in the form of taxes on petroleum so that you would come and pay for that amount. It is not because of a so-called capacity charge. It is not because of a so-called excess capacity. It is because of a complete failure of a government that decided to subsidize power but failed to make provision and pay for that. We shall hold Nana Akufo-Addo and the NPP squarely responsible for this suffering that the ordinary Ghanaian has had to go through. My grandmother in the village today, who is called upon to pay excess money based on the LPG gas she consumes, did not participate in consuming energy in terms of electricity. And so it is unjustifiable. We call on the government to immediately, as a matter of urgency, withdraw these obnoxious increments and ensure that the people of Ghana enjoy some relief. If they fail to do so, we shall use whatever legitimate means possible, both in and out of Parliament, to compel them to do so. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's accept. Okay, start the tree. Convert what you said.
Okay. Many nia a course on no idea.
So you had the minority's reaction to government's decision to increase some taxes, which will lead eventually to the increase in what you pay for petroleum products. And Mr. Jinapor there blaming this situation squarely, or putting the blame squarely at government's doorstep, and says in conclusion that if government does not withdraw this, they would use every legitimate means. They refers to the minority in Parliament to get government to rescind its decision.